started, Stephen will lead us in prayer.
I want to thank us this day, and Lord, we pray for this body that we will, Lord, act in the way that benefits all the students in our county. God, we ask for wisdom and discernment. Lord, and may we do it in a way that brings honor to you. In Jesus' name.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's sign in, please.
You worked it.
Orth present, Bain present, Burge present, Quickmore present, Fields present, Goins present, Heatherly present, Western present, Morgan present, Wilder present, Gilmore.
Thank you. Before we get started, we need to meet just for a second in executive session. All board members come out.
Mr. Chair, can I introduce someone at the beginning of our meeting?
Yes, we've got Joe Williams. We're happy to have her with us tonight.
She is
Everybody be on good behavior, please.
She is a longtime Board of Education member in Anderson County and very active at the state. I'm sure Ms. Heather knows her well. And is the head of our policy committee and kind of reauthored our whole policy. So a great board member that's here to do your evaluation.
Glad to have her.
And she also is the level 5 within Wardenship levels. She's been a dedicated member through the years, and I've worked with her locally at the state level, and she's awesome. I'm glad to have her. And we're not just saying that so you'll give us a good evaluation.
But we hope you do.
Yeah.
Okay, the first item is I've got Mr. Horton here. We're going to change our agenda around a little bit. Brian, come on up here. I think you said.
I think Steve's going to talk
Steve
tonight.
is.
I'll cover.
This is the soccer. They reached out to the on board and all that. Go ahead.
Okay, the reason we're here, we were here back in February. I don't know if y'all remember, we brought a request for about $15,000 to finish the soccer complex. At that time, Mr. Marlowe wasn't here, and we were unsure of the funding, so I think at that time, the board voted to approve $7,500 that night, and then it was our understanding that the next month we would have another $7,500 approved to complete the project. Well, that may have been my misunderstanding, but the second $7,500 is what we're here for tonight, to ask the board to approve that so we can finish the bathrooms at the soccer field.
So what is back?
That's the biggest thing we have left. Back in February, when we came to you, we gave you a list of things we wanted to complete. Pretty much everything on that list is complete. I don't know if you all have seen the soccer field, but the pavilion is up. We have bleachers that are under construction. We're waiting for the concrete to move them in place and bolt them down. But the biggest item we have left is the bathrooms for the soccer field. Because right now, when the boys played there this season, we had to go to porta potty, and that's all we had, for the fans. So, that's what we'd like to ask for, is the other $7,500.
Just going to try to finish it here this summer.
Yes. That way the girls will play in the fall, and that way we should be able to have everything complete before their season.
And for the girls, also during the summer, the only accessible restroom for the girls is at the baseball field, which is a pretty good distance for those girls. They need that facility there.
I know Richard handed out a sheet tonight about the budget meetings, dates. Jeff, I guess we'll have to address this, how much money we got. We'll have any left.
I don't know what's the current income on capital outlay right
We're somewhere, we kind of hold on in case you have to be the water heater or be there.
Well, you know, you can, that kind of money in the bank, 13th of the month, so doesn't really make any difference whether you're before or actually June 30th, so you're gonna have the new money coming out more.
You're saying we do it, approve it for, you're on the agenda for next month, or what time?
You can go ahead and approve it now, if he's got 25,000, pay 7,500 before the end of the year, or you can approve it now and take it out after July the 1st.
July first, turn together.
That's what-
Okay, how's everybody feel about that?
Mr. Chairman, in order to vote on something that's not on their agenda, we would need to do an addendum.
I understand that, but,
That's what we're
any other questions for Bill here? Okay, we'll add it to the agenda. Thank you. All right, next item, we will move on to item, the agenda, Dale, will part of.
Yes, as you recall, there had been a request from the former employee, Mr. Dan Turner, to go through the independent hearing office process. That matter was heard by Mike Billingsley from Kingsport. He then, through his attorney, made a request to appeal the decision of the hearing officer, which was to uphold Director Nidifer's termination of his employment to the full board. Mr. Nidifer has made available to you a copy of all 3 days of the transcript and the exhibits for your review. And pursuant to the rules, Mr. Turner or his attorney is now allowed to make a statement to you. And at the end of his statement, you're allowed to ask him any questions. He cannot ask you any questions or put on any additional proof. But you are entitled, if you have questions you want to ask him. At the end of Mr. Turner's presentation, you will either vote to uphold the decision of the hearing officer, you will either vote to overturn the decision of the hearing officer, or you will either vote to send it back to hearing for additional information. So at this time, I would turn it over to Mr. Turner or his attorney. Who's Mr. McCoy? Did not do a good job introducing this is Ms. McCoy.
Bill, make sure that that's turned on.
Testing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. Chairman. I am here representing Dan Turner. Dan, wave, if everybody knows who I am. As Mr. Cantrell noted, we did have a hearing pursuant to the statutory provisions for the dismissal of a non-tenured teacher. That hearing lasted 3 days, and I understand you've been provided with a transcript. I hope you have taken an opportunity to review that transcript before this meeting, simply because your decision is supposed to be based on what is within the record of that proceeding below. As was noted earlier, this is not a time for new evidence. This is a time for the board to act as an appellate body and to determine whether or not Mr. Billingsley made the correct decision based on the evidence that was offered in the hearing below. Let me just start with a little bit of basic information to bring everybody up to speed. Mr. Turner was a non-tenured teacher employed in this school system during the 2015-2016 school year. And here we are at the end of 2016-2017. The procedure took a rather long time to go through. He was very popular with the students at his school, well liked by his colleagues. One of his students even dressed as him for Halloween one year. He served as a physical education teacher, and he also coached in some capacity. When he was initially advised of his suspension, he was placed on a suspended without pay status and pending additional investigation into the allegations made against him. Then on July 25th, 2016, Director Nidifer sent him a letter advising him that he was being terminated for violation of board policy And the specific things that are listed in the letter are due to inappropriate use of the school's internet discovered during the investigation conducted, and unsuitable, inappropriate, unprofessional teacher behaviors with students during physical education classes. That is the notice that he received before he requested a hearing to address these charges. Now, we had several other issues that came up during the hearing, and if you've reviewed the transcript, you have seen what some of those were. And if you've read Mr. Billingsley's decision, you'll see he considered whether or not it was appropriate for those things to be brought forward and concluded that it was not. Because the way this process is supposed to work, Mr. Turner is supposed to get notice in sufficient detail to enable him to come to the hearing prepared to defend himself. And because he had not received notice of these other issues, Mr. Billingsley considered those matters outside his purview as the hearing officer, and we do not contest his conclusions on those issues. We do contest his conclusions on the two issues that were included in Director Nidifer's letter. So let me take you through some of the information that we would like for the board to consider in determining how to dispose of this matter. As has previously been noted, you actually have 4 options that are available to you. You can uphold Mr. Billingsley's decision. You can overturn his decision and reinstate Mr. Turner. You can modify his decision, or you can refer the matter back for more evidence if there's a particular issue that you felt was not addressed in the transcript. So once the charges were provided to Mr. Turner, he made a timely request for hearing. And so let me take you through what the background of these allegations concerning inappropriate conduct with students. There had been an initial allegation with a named student, a particular student, early in the 2015-2016 school year, and that matter was referred to the Tennessee Department of Children's Services for investigation. DCS did an investigation and concluded that there was no merit to those allegations, and they returned an unfounded on the allegations. Subsequent to that, Mr. Turner received a written reprimand dated October 16, 2015 from his principal, Meredith Arnold. In that written reprimand, there were several things listed, and among them was reports that students had been massaging Mr. Turner, that he had engaged in inappropriate behaviors with students, that staff had complained that female students were viewed rubbing, massaging his shoulders, neck, head, or standing between his legs while Mr. Turner was sitting. This is in October. Mr. Turner received that written reprimand from Principal Arnold. He signed off on that reprimand after a discussion with Principal Arnold. And after that, as he testified in the hearing, he took that directive to heart and began to be conscious of those kinds of interactions with students. We had a lot of testimony in the hearing about the fact we're dealing with young students. Young students, when they like a teacher, they want to be physically close to that teacher. And so he had to start paying attention and redirecting students. And that was his strategy. When a student would get too physically close to him, he would redirect them back into play, into the activity in the PE class. Mr. Turner, after that October write-up, did not have another conference with Ms. Arnold. He did not receive another write-up. He was not confronted with a report from colleagues or from parents or from anybody else until May 2016. And in May 2016, Principal Arnold began collecting statements from various employees at La Follette Elementary School concerning observations of Mr. Turner's behavior. Unfortunately, many of these statements, which were entered as Exhibit 6 in the hearing, are not dated. They do not include the dates or times of the conduct that is alleged to have been seen. They do not name the students that were involved in this alleged conduct. So based on the lack of specifics, and based on the fact that none of these complaints that were compiled in May 2016 were ever shared with Principal Arnold in a timely manner during the school year by the colleagues, there was no real way for Mr. Billingsley to conclude that those statements were in reference to behavior that occurred after the October reprimand or before it, because there were no dates. There were no specifics that allowed us to be able to identify the conduct and to refute the conduct, because timely reports had not been made. And when Ms. Arnold compiled all these statements, she did no additional investigation. And that was very clear if you read her cross-examination. Her answer to my questions was constantly no. I didn't ask which students were involved. No. I didn't ask what date this happened on. No. I didn't ask which class this was in. She just compiled these vague statements and gave them to Director Nidifer without doing any more investigation to narrow down the details. And because of that, and this is something we argued to Mr. Billingsley, there's no way to pinpoint when those events actually happened based on those statements, because they don't have dates in them. They don't have names in them. In addition, there was no credible explanation offered by the administration for why this wasn't reported in a timely fashion. If this was an issue of concern, if there was a feeling that the children were not, and Mr. Turner were having some kind of inappropriate interaction, especially since he had already been disciplined once for those allegations, why didn't any of his colleagues report this? Why wasn't there follow-up? Why wasn't there another counseling or another reprimand? Why did it take from October and then nothing for months until May, when Principal Arnold started building a file at Director Nidifer's direction? It does call into question whether or not the information that was being compiled was really part of a thorough investigation, as opposed to just building some information that a decision could be made on whether the information was vetted or not. The only really credible evidence that was offered in the hearing with dates and times and backup from someone who said they had actually seen this conduct, and that was Ms. Arnold, was the conduct that was discussed that led to the October reprimand. We felt that the administration had not met its burden of proving that any similar conduct happened after that, because there wasn't good evidence of it. There was no contemporary account of that behavior. There was no opportunity for Mr. Turner to respond to those allegations at the time they allegedly arose. It all came in one big chunk in May 16th when the decision was made to start investigating. And so we believe that the administration has not carried its burden of proving that he continued to engage in that behavior, particularly since he clearly testified that he made efforts to redirect students. That was his strategy. No one in the administration ever told him that was not an effective strategy for dealing with the fact that the children like to be physically close to him. The second issue that was raised in Director Nidifer's letter was the use of school internet. In the charging letter that Director Nidifer wrote, there is a clear reference to board policy, but that board policy was not entered into the evidence of the hearing. And Hearing Officer Billingsley even made a comment about that in his decision, if you happen to read through that. And that's an issue, because if you're alleging a violation of board policy, the logical way to prove that is to put the policy in the record and then show what conduct was in violation of that policy. And that did not happen in this situation. The computer documentation that was offered, which was an exhibit to the transcript that you received, was not complete documentation. And part of the problem was that they couldn't recreate the documentation at the time of the hearing. So we didn't have, we had one page that had dated, timed access, then we had a bunch of other pages that you couldn't pin down dates or times when the sites were accessed. In addition, there was no offer in the evidence of any of the videos that Mr. Turner allegedly accessed entered into the record. So there was no way to see them and to evaluate what the content was and whether or not it violated board policy. In addition, there were a lot of wrestling videos that were noted, and that's because Mr. Turner had been asked to participate in a school event, a fundraiser, where he was going to play a villain in a wrestling scenario. So he was looking at various wrestling videos to get some ideas about techniques, and that was clearly acknowledged by the computer tech person who testified. Mr. Turner was never told that he couldn't watch videos on his duty-free lunch. He wasn't told that he couldn't do this research, to do this school activity on his school computer. If you know anything about YouTube, if you've ever accessed YouTube and then walked away from the video, YouTube flips over automatically to another video. And it'll flip over to another video. And in looking at the one page we had that had dated time entries, there are almost every 6 to 12 minutes a new video. Well, Mr. Turner's got classes all day. That's not a clear indication that he's actually assessing those videos. And the computer tech even acknowledged that's the way YouTube works. If you leave it on, it'll flip over to another video, and that will be recorded in the record of that computer. And so the administration did not establish that anyone saw Mr. Turner accessing inappropriate videos or accessing those videos during instructional time. Now, Ms. Thompson, who worked in the physical education class with him, said she heard sounds that she thought were inappropriate, and she saw scantily clad women. Of course, if you were looking at wrestling videos, it's likely you would see some scantily clad women, if you know anything about professional wrestling. But she never reported any of that. It didn't bother her enough to say anything to anybody, even though she's the principal's aunt, she's family. She certainly would have had access to go talk to Ms. Arnold if she was concerned about something, but she never reported anything. She didn't make a statement till May, when everybody else is making statements. And again, the statements don't have dates or names. They're just vague allegations that, quite frankly, lead one to wonder if this was just not part and parcel of an attempt to cooperate with Principal Arnold, who was trying to comply with the directive from Mr. Knight. With regard to that second allegation, it's our position that the school administration has not provided evidence that Mr. Turner violated board policy. There was no board policy entered into the record. There was no showing that he accessed particular videos himself, as opposed to those videos rolling over as a function of YouTube. There was no evidence offered that he was ever directed not to watch those videos. There was no evidence offered that it was not okay for him to leave his computer on while he was involved in instruction with his physical education students. And with the absence of any of that evidence, it seems incredibly unfair for the school administration to use that as a rationale to dismiss him when there was no clear indication that he was doing anything wrong. With the other allegation, certainly there was the reprimand that he received in October to give him an opportunity to correct his conduct, and he made an effort to do that. With the allegations concerning the use of the computer, there was no warning. There was no opportunity for him to stop watching videos if the administration didn't want him to watch videos, wrestling videos, or whatever other kind of videos he was watching during his duty-free lunch. So under those circumstances, we do not believe that the administration has met its burden of proving that Mr. Turner, in his conduct with either one of these allegations, the allegation of inappropriate conduct with students or the allegation of inappropriate use of his school computer and school internet, we do not believe that that burden has been carried such that improper conduct has been established under the statute. In this particular case, we think there was, unfortunately, a decision made in May, for whatever reason, that Mr. Turner wasn't desired as a teacher anymore. But he's a non-tenured teacher. If the school system just didn't want him as a teacher, he could have been non-renewed. But instead, they went the route of dismissal for cause. And the problem is that when you go the route of dismissal for cause, you've got to show evidence to support that cause. It is our contention that the school administration has not met its burden of establishing the two charges contained in Director Nidifer's letter such that it shows that Mr. Turner is guilty of improper conduct. And we ask the board to rescind that recommendation and to reinstate Mr. Turner as a teacher. Now, Mr. Turner, did you want to say something?
I would just like to thank you all for letting me come and speak on my behalf. I just want to let you all know I care about these kids. All I wanted to do was teach these kids. You know, I felt like I've done my job as best as I can do. I've had, in 4 years, exemplary observation scores. I mean, anything other than that, I'm just trying to do my job. You know, I stay in my office, I wouldn't get out and mingle with people, anything like that. I just wanted to come and do my job and coach football the best as I can do. So, I just wanted to say that, and I appreciate y'all listening. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, I need to get approval on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Second. Second, Mr. Byrd. Any discussion? Cast your vote, please. Anyone wish to change their vote? Show us the vote.
Brick, yes. Dane, yes. Burge, yes. Creekmore, yes. Fields, yes. Owens, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Rodney, yes. Motion passes.
Okay. The regular agenda approval, we're going to add two things. Under 7D, we're going to add roof for baseball field at CCHS. Should be D2. And then under 8, we're going to add this handout that Richard gave everyone about the budget dates. And we see, and then after C, we're going to add the soccer field. Dale did appropriately handle this issue under item fraction.
You can actually do it right now if you want to do it so that Mr. Turner and his folks don't have to stay. Typically, it's done at the beginning so that they don't have to wait.
Okay, so we're going to move item 8A, 8A up to the first item on the agenda. So what's the pleasure of the board with those added items? Your motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion has second. Any discussion? Cast your vote. Anyone wish to change their vote? Show us the vote, please.
Portage, yes. Bain, yes. Burge, yes. Creekmore, yes. Fields, yes. Owens, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Rodney, yes. Motion passes.
Okay. All right. First item would be 8A, discuss and take necessary action regarding Dan Turner hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, after reading the hearings completely, and I did read all of the hearings, it took me hours and hours. I did read it with an open heart, open mind, but after reading that, I make a motion that we stand by Mr. Nidifer's decision to dismiss Dan Turner.
Have a motion, do I have a second? A second. Any discussion? You would cast your vote. Anyone want to change your vote? Show us the vote, please.
Portage, yes. Bain, yes. Burge, yes. Creekmore, yes. Fields, yes. Owens, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes.
Thank you so much. Comments from the chair, the only thing I have is, as I mentioned, look over this list that Richard passed out. See if you have any conflicts with it, that would go into the end of our agenda. Gail, I want to clarify, when is the TSBA summer law? What day is that? See, you know.
It's July, I believe it's July 22nd.
If anyone wishes to cancel, make sure you let Gail know. I think we're next mark this.
Yes, sir.
Go mark this.
Mr. Chairman, could I add to that? They have a legislation session on Thursday before the summer law starts on Friday. And I would highly recommend that all their board members go to that. It's very beneficial information. And in addition to that, not only what you learn and how beneficial it is, you also get 7 credits for your boardmanship.
Next item, we'll clarify some things. I want to commend Mr. Lyford, Jeff, and his department are working on our budget. It's not ideal, but I think it's something we can manage. Thanks so much, Marlo. That's all I have. Director's money report.
Besides working on the budget, we're getting very close to balancing that. I need a transportation. Chairman, my proposition, Mr. Mason, bring something forward next month. I'm meeting with the bus owners to give them the routes, to check their routes, to make sure that they're correct. And maybe another person to serve on that committee.
We have a wish volunteer. We got Steve and Brent. Steve, that was your survey.
I would be glad to. Thank you.
I'll give it to you. Anyone else?
And one other thing, all 6 here yesterday, this year, we probably need to meet before the next board meeting also, whatever's available.
Let's go ahead and set a date on the bus. Yeah, we'll find it.
Let me email Larry Chuck, I'll check the bus schedule, I can use that.
Okay. Make it good before one of this, budget meeting, trying to.
That's the only thing I really do.
It looks like that, is this true that there's only one bus right now? Is that right or wrong?
That's probably correct. Our bus and transportation overall, Jack, worked on it quite a bit. I think we transported about 350 more students this year than last year, Jack.
397.
And as of last report, our funding from the state looks like we made
Is there anything in the blue packet that any of y'all have questions?
One thing about the policy, you mentioned it, we only have one policy that's outstanding with TSBA. I called about it today, and it's policy 6.411. So when we have our policy meeting, we can address that as we back to July 1st. And they have received all the others shared.
Any other questions? Thank you, Robert. Recognize Mr. Jim Morrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Beginning with local finance reports for the period ending April 30th, 2017. General purpose school fund, cash, $10.67 million. You see to leave here in a month. And revenues at 87.3% utilization. Note the top of that section, property tax at 98.6%, which I think is our mark by the end of the year. Also, the first time in my tenure, all of the delinquent property tax parcels sold at the sale without the county having to be in all parcels sold. So we'll also do a mark on for the year. 87.3% utilization compared to the expenditures at 72% utilization. And that spread will decrease as we go to May payout for all the teachers that you all know. The federal project school fund, cash trustee, $394,472. Revenues and appropriations balance to each other, 73% utilization project school fund. And then the cafeteria fund, cash, about $4 million. And revenues now finally, for the first time this year, exceeding expenditures 79.8%, 77% effectively. Finally got all that in alignment. They got the business down there. So that's what we're going to do. Any questions you have on it, so it's not going to.
Jim, let me ask you a question on those cars that are sold. Do they, kind of receive the money right away or is there a period of time they have to wait?
Have all sales that you report have a 10-day ability to raise your behind bid, but at this point now, that process is happening. So all of them should be paid in.
All right, get a motion to approve the monthly financial. Got a motion and a second. Second, Ms. Gill. Any questions for Jeff? Any discussion? Will cash vote, please? Anyone change their vote? Show us the vote, please.
Warren, yes. Bain, yes. Birch, yes. Creedmoor, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Elliott, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion passes.
The budget amendments, there are 8 budget amendments, the largest being the last one, involves a $17,000 grant for the purchase of a reach-in refrigerator at Jacksboro Middle School, cafeteria fund. All the rest of the amendments are minimal.
Get a motion to approve budget amendments.
So moved.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Moore. Any discussion? Cast your vote, please. Anyone wish to change your vote? Show us the vote, please.
Warren, yes. Bain, yes. Birch, yes. Creedmoor, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Elliott, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is review, beginning with the new roof at Elk Valley Elementary School, solicited for on May 4th, and 6 and open on May 31st. We had 4 bidders expected to achieve roofing as colored, ESKOLA roofing, Morristown roofing, and Ridge roofing. We received only 1 bid from DC roofing, $167,670, that's our budget estimate. So the recommendation is to treat the roofing as the only bidder, $167,670. It's also the recommendation of Mr. Charles Grant, the architect of the project, and the time of the recommendations.
And it covers the entire building.
It does, and that building, you may recall, consists presently of a partial metal decking and partial wood decking. New system are taking all the way down to both deckings. Any wood problem will be replaced. That's also usually good in the bid, so it looks like it will be put in the money.
Can I get a motion to approve Elk Valley Elementary roof? Motion. Second. Any discussion? Cast your vote. Anyone wish to change their vote? Show us the vote, please.
Warren, yes. Bain, yes. Birch, yes. Creedmoor, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Elliott, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion passes.
Second item, Mr. Chairman, is copy paper for the school year. Solicited for on 18th of May, received on the 2nd of June, received 1 bid, contract paper roofing, $25 per days. Recommendation is to contract paper roofing
second?
I'll say.
Two, three seconds. Ms. Fields, second. Discussion, cast your vote. Anyone wish to change your vote, show us vote.
Ford, yes. Bain, yes. Burge, yes. Crimmel, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion passed.
Finalize, Mr. Chairman, disposal supplies for the upcoming school year. So this before on May 22, received up on June 6th. Received bids from four bidders, Norbex Supply, $26,448.45, AMD Enterprises, Inc., $39,0766.70, that's not an error, I'll explain to you in a second. Ellison Sanitary Supply, $21,748.85, All Pro Supply, $26,549.35, recommendation to Ellison Supply, the lowest best bidder, also recommendation to Knifer. On the bid submitted by ABM Enterprises, which got my attention, I almost $250,000, and everybody else had roughly 20,000 or 25. Their bid sheet, we spec out the number of items, quantities described in the report. And one of the items was 85-gallon drums of wax. And it could be either Johnson Carefree Wax, Spartan Upper Limits, or Buckeye Citation. Well, Norbex Supply bid Buckeye Citation at $65.65 for a 5-gallon container, 80 of them, calculates $5,252. Ellison bid on Spartan Upper Limits, $53.16 for a 5-gallon container. Extended equals $4,252.80. All Pro bid on 80 of Johnson Carefree, $47.09, $3,767.20. AVM Enterprise bid on Johnson Carefree at $2,100 per 5-gallon container. So that extended 80, 2,100, $168,000. I actually called them to tell them I think that their wax is probably a little overpriced, and they all got kind of a laugh out of it, simply an error in the bid. It wouldn't have made any difference because of the price and their quote, but that's the largest discrepancy that I've ever seen in a bid we've ever taken, and I just thought it was common, I couldn't help but research. Anyway, the recommendations to Ellison $7,485
Can you get a motion to approve as noted supply?
I'll make a motion.
There's a motion, have a second? Second. Any discussion? Cast your vote, please. Anyone wish to change their vote? Show us your vote.
Ford, yes. Bain, yes. Burge, yes. Crimmel, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion passed.
Item D, Mr. Chairman, we request permission to advertise for bids for division of kitchen equipment, preventive maintenance and repair, and item 2, a roof for the baseball field house at CCHS. You can vote on those separately, collectively, as you vote.
Put them together. Nobody has a problem with that. Can I get a motion to approve the bids for this next year? Motion, have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second. Any discussion? Cast your vote, please. Anyone wish to change their vote? Show us the vote, please.
Ford, yes. Bain, yes. Burge, yes. Crimmel, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion passed.
Item E, Mr. Chairman, request permission to accept renewals of certain contracts we have in place. Odyssey Ware, Accelerate Reading Math, STAR, ECCPN, Discovery Education, Study Highland, and Flight School seminars.
What is the study item?
Have to ask the record now.
All of these programs are software programs that deal with curriculum. Study Island is a set of English language arts and mathematics problems.
It's fancy, huh?
Well, It is a game related, it's sort of a, education.
Jeff, do we have any idea about what the total cost is in the contract?
No, but there will be some stamps with the, honestly, where it's going to be behind. Some plans and then I'm gonna guess. And we could use obviously where last year, last year back a couple of years ago. Year before, they're probably all going to be one time. But I'm going to guess mine is going to in the range of,
Okay, we have a motion to accept the
Mr. Chairman, before we take a vote, I would just like to ask Mr. Douglas, are these your recommendations, and are you happy with all of them?
Yes, Odyssey Ware is a computerized program that provides any class, CTE, English language from about third grade through 12. If a student transferred to Cameron County High School and they were taking German, we don't offer, we can put them online. We use that for our GEC program, Credit Recovery, and the rest of those. STAR and ECCBM is a benchmarking type software that our students will take a benchmark test, and then in a short period of time, teachers have information to do remediation or acceleration of teaching. All of these are highly required software packages that schools use. And we allow them to evaluate the ones that are best service.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the renewals? All set. Have a motion. Have a second. Second, Ms. Fields. Any discussion? Cast your vote, please. Anyone wish to change their vote? Short the vote.
Warwick, yes. Bain, yes. Bird, yes. Creedmoor, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Wagner, yes. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Chairman, if it's down to item F.
Ms. May called, she's not here tonight, she took a short vacation to Japan. She said that she's uploaded to the Dropbox, financials, the general restricted account. Okay, item A, item for action, took care of A already. B, consider approving memorandum of understanding between the Campbell County Board of Education and the Education Professional of Campbell County 2017-2020 is attached. And I know that Faye, as a member, worked served on the committee, Nick worked very hard. We'll let you take a look.
Well, it was an interesting and hard work for the last few months. It was a really good experience to be able to sit down with our teachers and knowing where they live every day, to hear their side of the story, to hear what their needs are. We did not always agree to the letter, but at the end of the day, after negotiation and sharing our thoughts and reasoning and going back and forth, we came up with the current MOU that you have in front of me. The first thing I would like to ask is, there were 3 or 4 items that we wanted to discuss. If anybody else has other discussions or questions, that's fine. We have a lot of the collaborative conferencing team here. Could I ask all of you people to stand up just a minute? And Lisa and Crystal was on our team as well. Thank you all for your hard work.
Appreciate you, sir.
One of the things we considered, after talking with the director of schools, he said to me, Faye, it would be beneficial if we ended the current MOU, which is scheduled to go from 2014 to 2017. At his suggestion to end it June the 30th and start the new one July the 1st. And his reasoning behind that was that he could have the summer to hire the teachers that he needed to have in place for the beginning of the school year. So I think we would need to take a vote on that separately. You want to do it right now? And Mr. Knight, Okay, Mr. Dyford, do you have anything you want to add about that?
I'll say one thing, the collaborative group that there, and board members, and, I guess, Miss Tammy Lane and Conley was the representative of the Board of Education, put in a lot of hard hours and hard work through this board. And that's all I have to say, is
I have one question. Dale, you approve us terminating at the end of June, starting?
I did.
Yes, we consulted Mr.
I was at the meeting.
Yeah, I was. Did all the questions get answered? I know that some of the members back there had some questions. Pardon me?
I was hoping to start the new one on June 30th.
Started on June 30th? And
That was my hope,
what's the reason for that?
so I can retire
Okay.
So she was a shy there.
We don't have a problem with that. Did all y'all's questions get answered that night?
And this is just on the starting.
Do what?
I understand. I think you had some concerns. Did Dale answer all the questions for you that night?
The only concerns I've had, I've expressed, and we'll take care of those as we go through.
All right, thank you. I'll be a witness. Yes. This vote is to go ahead and approve termination on June the 30th. And then the other one start June the 30th. Is that correct? That will let suit your needs.
Well,
Can't do it. 29th and 30th. We'll terminate on 29th. Start the new one on June 30th. Okay.
thank you.
All right. Any discussion? Just determination and reinstatement. All right, if none, you get a motion to approve it? Have a second? Okay. Cast your vote, please. Anyone wish to change their vote, show us a vote.
Warwick, yes. Bain, yes. Birch, yes. Creekmore, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion passed.
Good job. All right.
Okay, the next thing on page 5 is the new MOU. On page 5, it talks about the sick buyout days. And when we left our workshops, that was what the teachers had agreed on and what the conferencing team agreed on. But it was depending on our budget, and it was in the budget and how that was to turn out. That's one of the items that we need to discuss, and that would come from Mr. Dyford and Jeff.
Jeff, we have paid that money out. And we get that.
Which total, was it $87,000?
Plan is to approve that in the second meeting, but have it for the last 6 weeks.
Yes, sir.
87,000, is that just this year?
That is
Estimated on what's going to retire this year, that's changed year to year.
The $87,000 we talked about in our workshops is predicated upon the actual payouts in the last 3 years average with the present rate of buyout. And so it's assumed that the new number will elevate that by $87,000 on the average number of days being purchased over the last 2
Do you
years.
think that's a good average estimate for the year, you know, and
All we do is just take it as it comes, you know. It may very well be that it explodes and $87,000 won't touch it. It may very well be that $87,000 is more than enough. We don't simply do not know. We do know, and I told you guys in our meeting, that 2/3 of your populace is in category cycle through the next 5 years of this, is probably, you should see some decline for a period of time. We'll cycle back up, but you're gonna get hit some amount of money in the next 3 to 5 years. But it's not material as it relates to making your decision. You know, I know $87,000 sounds like a whole lot of money, but it's just simply not. And it's, you know, your budgetary constraints. I wouldn't let that be a stumbling block for my vote, I would say.
All right, 151 change. Let's move on
Okay,
again.
and that went from $100 a day in the current MOU to $150 a day at retirement for sick days. Is everybody here? So one of the other things that was brought to my attention and was brought up in our workshop that we had, and Dale was present with us, and it was about the meeting times before and after school. And Dale advised us that the UMOU is on page 11. It reads, and this is the new one, except in emergencies, there will be no more than one meeting per month before, on, or after school effective teachers, and each meeting will be last no longer than 60 minutes. And Dale, would you mind to explain to us, his concern was that we identify that one meeting, and I also called TSBA and policy attorney today, and he said exactly the same thing you did. I wasn't doubting what you said, I just wanted to know if there was anything else that we needed to add to clarify this.
The only concern that I raised to the technical conferencing team at the meeting was if you don't define what meeting is, it could be, the teacher could say, well, I have done my 1 hour meeting with an after-school parent-teacher meeting. It really going to picture the elementary guys with the RTI, the level meetings, that there are multiple things. And that my suggestion, and it really is just a suggestion, because you all agreed to do whatever way you want, is that I would define what meeting would be.
And Ben Torres from TSBA today was very adamant about identifying it as a faculty meeting. And I know we discussed in our conference and meeting, because of all of the elementary meetings that are required, that it just gets to be bogged down and burdened down. And we've talked about different, different meetings being an overload for the teachers, but that was one thing that was brought to my attention, so the board can act on it as you would want
So
to.
we changed verbiage back.
I have a question. In order to get around the meeting scenario, can we just set so many hours per year on professional development hours? So I understand it right, there's going to be, for 9 months, still will be 9 hours. We set a certain amount of hours, because the principal might want to have a meeting that's going to last an hour and 15 minutes. And it looks like, somebody can, just keep up with so many hours. How's Anderson County doing?
Well, we have an early out, more of the systems are going to an early out day on Wednesday. So like we dismiss, I think an hour and a half early on Wednesdays that allow for these meetings to occur. And then we might have one monthly faculty meeting that might take place on a Tuesday. But that hour and a half of professional development time each day is what, or each week, is what takes care of all of our meetings that go through. And that has become, I know Oak Ridge City, Alcoa City, Maryville City, that has become kind of a common thing that has gone through. Some systems now will not do it every week. They'll do it 2 times a month. They'll do it bi-monthly. Some do it once a month. but you can have an early out time that sets it to allow for your professional development. You have policy considerations about just hitting a block that would go. So I don't know if I would say to do 9 hours a year, but setting up a professional development time would satisfy the problem. Another way is to define meeting as simply faculty meetings. You know, a meeting that is going to include, you know, a group of teachers as opposed to one teacher. But the statewide, you are seeing systems shift to allowing for one early out time to allow for the professional development. And I would say, again, elementary is driving the train because they have so many requirements with RTI that they're having to meet that it's just not workable if you don't do something like that.
Could we do like one Wednesday a month?
You really do anything. Some systems do one Wednesday a month, some do 2 Wednesdays. We just do it every Wednesday. Your all's inclement weather is a little more severe than ours. We just took some of our snow days and got rid of our in-service days to go to our professional development, and it didn't take away any. We haven't noticed it, Joe, really once in 5 years. Probably.
Did I interject something?
Yes, ma'am.
It works well for team teachers, you can get all your math teachers working together and they can collaborate on subjects that way. Our music teachers can all be in one location. It works well with so many subject areas.
You've been doing it for a year or two.
We went in before.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
I like that.
Math's got used to it.
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 questions regarding the teaching law fairly out. Number 1 question, the number of hours, as I understand the conversation, will impact the number of hours that you have built into your schedule, to not have to make anything but, is that correct?
Yeah, you're gonna have to still meet your state minimum requirements.
Okay, that's the first question. Second question, and more importantly, if you go this route, for all non-teaching employees, are you going to continue to work them the number of scheduled hours that they would otherwise have on that particular day? And if not, you create a significant problem for the wage earning capability of those employees.
How do y'all handle it?
They continue to work because keep in mind, these teachers are still working. They're just now working as professional development time, but our janitorial staff are you know, it doesn't affect them any. And then we stagger the release times so that the busing schedules go. And I think I addressed this at the meeting. Our initial concern that we had were with some of the ball teams because the coaches did not like them having, you know, what are they going to do during that hour and a half? And so what they've done is they now have study halls where they can do extra work. After school programs have developed to where groups have come in like the Boys and Girls Club. So it has really become a pretty seamless transition.
Your first question, you were concerned is the number of days, hours, how do we handle that?
How many days of in-service do you typically allot for?
We allot for 3.
So if you took those 3 and if you took, because doesn't it cost us 5 days, Joe? So if you took your 3 in-service days and 2 of your snow days, that's going to be enough to make it. And then the 1 year that we had the bad weather, we just eliminated like one of those, holidays that kind of came through. 5 days is, I think, what allowed us to do it every week.
One other concern relates to potential abolition of in-service days. Again, back to your school calendar, some of your employees receive pay for those days and some do not. So we've got to make sure that if you eliminate days from the calendar or blank, you take that into consideration in structuring of the calendar to address that for us.
I think one reason for change was the number of times it would meet, is that correct?
Yes.
So I think once a month, it's much more
Well, it
easy.
previously was 2, and then they talked about changing it back to 1 month, but then they took out the word faculty and just put 1 meeting, and that was where the concern came that it was identified.
Yeah, but, what I mean was, do one Wednesday a month, instead of doing it every week.
Would I be in order to ask representative from each one of the teacher organizations their thoughts about that briefly?
Yeah.
Sharon and Sean?
I know you're leading.
Sharon had some verbiage that she had discussed.
We got to this point not because of faculty meetings. We were fine with the word faculty meetings, and I told him in the meeting, none of this really applied to me. It's more about the elementary schools, and they called them other things besides faculty meetings. So they would have 2 faculty meetings a month, but then they would also have 2 data team meetings and 2 grade level meetings, and they just called them something different. So the term faculty meeting, it limited those 2 faculty meetings, but it didn't limit anything else. So these elementary teachers who work harder than anybody in this whole school system, pardon me, everybody else, but it's the truth. It's just amazing what they do with a 30-minute planning every day. And then once and twice every week, they wanted them to stay after school for another meeting. So I had asked a couple of people and had some thumbs up come back to me from some of the other members of the management team that weren't here. What if we said, instead of meetings involving teachers, to say meetings of a group of teachers, involving a group of teachers. And instead of, I think Mr. Cantrell had made the remark, if you have one coach that meets with the principal after school, he could say that's his meeting. And that was the reason for a definition. If we say limited to only 1 a month involving a group of teachers. And they have open house once a month, they have a PLC meeting, they have an RTI meeting, they have, I mean, these elementary teachers are worked to death. And I'm not an elementary teacher, but am I not right? You
Right.
raise your hand, testify.
Sharon, could I just
Amen.
ask your thoughts about the idea that they were discussing about having the designated times, have early out designated times?
Oh, I think that'd be wonderful.
What's your feelings?
And, you know, I'm fine with that because that's not before and after school. If it's an early out for that particular thing,
Okay, Tom?
Well, and for the members of the board that weren't at the meeting last time, we had an extensive general discussion about those early out days. And I think there was a consensus among the people there that we thought it was a good idea in some format. We didn't say, well, once a month or once a week, but some schedule along those lines would go a long way towards resolving this issue and give the principals all the flexibility in the world to meet with those teachers.
So that brings us to,
There was another issue Mr. Nyford and I talked about for 3 or 4 years. Some of these elementary teachers, if they kept up with their hours, they'd be well beyond the 200 days, and they would be overpaid if they really kept up with their time. Meeting and all these meetings that they have to go to. So that's another issue that was brought up too.
How does the board feel about early day out once a month on Wednesday?
Professional development, so it's a good thing for a teacher. Most of the week.
Good watch. Well, it's easier to try to make it hours. You do it every week.
It's, if my recollection serves, you do it every week, you're gonna have to come up with 5 days in your calendar. You've got 3 automatics because you're gonna lose your in-service days. So you're gonna have to come up with 2 days somewhere.
probably did it twice a month, probably wouldn't come up with maybe any days. It's just doing the math, and you don't have to go an hour and a half, you could go an hour. I wouldn't want to go more than 2 o'clock, personally.
I would think it would be easier for the parents to be there if they could schedule.
That was the input we got back, because they liked the routine of it being every week, but as opposed to having the members, this is the week, that's the week. And it really didn't affect our attendance. We were worried about attendance, some, and really had no negative effect on it.
Well, my concern is, if we put it in this two MOUs for 3 years, can we go back and amend that at any time?
You can, and with the agreement of the unions.
Yeah, you have to have that class at sunset.
Or you could put it in to try, you can put it in, say, we're gonna try it for, you try it for a semester in your MOU, and you don't have to make it a 3-year commitment in the MOU. You can say, let's try it for a semester and see how it goes, and tinker with it.
Okay.
Do we, a long day is required by the state, do we start looking at those earlier? Well, that's good, could that not be created?
We use that extra half hour to be able to do things. But it would be, generally, we use about 10 on average. And I don't know if it was Barry or Neil, or somebody dropped a actual plan of action if the board so desires to go this way. But now, if what Mr. Marlowe brought up, we would have to really consider our hourly employees and make that adjustment before we go down this road. But it is doable, and I think it would be very beneficial to elementary teachers. But we need to go down all avenues before we make that decision.
And just try, like you said, for a semester, see how it works. Ms. Sharon?
And I might ask if that part not be included in the MOU, just the part about the meetings. And then if the board chooses to schedule it, we're fine with that. And if for some reason they can't, we're fine with that.
But currently it reads, what's the
It says, except in emergencies, there will be no more than one meeting per month before or after school affecting teachers, and each meeting will last no longer than 60 minutes.
That should be in there.
what kind of verbiage when we get around changes?
Involving a group of teachers. Put those 3 words in, a group of. I think we solved that problem.
These are hard questions for me to answer, because these aren't legal questions. These are literally your all's administrative questions. With them legally, you leave it as is, but you just have to understand that my concern I raised that night was if you just say a meeting, a teacher's going to go, I've had my meeting if I've had a parent-teacher meeting. Sharon's answer I like a lot better than the way it is. Yes.
So would the principal determine who the group? Is that-
Again, that's your administrative, and it's hard to come up with one, because what's going to work for the high school is going to be different than the elementary school.
Okay, so we got those 3 changes.
Okay, so now, what's the final thing on that particular
Well,
statement?
leave it as he has to change the group. If we want to change
Instead
next
of
month,
meeting, put a group.
next month, when school starts back, we attempt to try. In early day hours. It'll be outside the room.
Now, there was just one other thing, and these things are not necessarily my opinion, they were concerns that were brought to me by board members in the discussion after they got this, there was one item that was left out of the old MOU, and it is concerning leave. I mean, it was concerning doctor's excuses, and it's on, it is item number 6 on the old MOU under usage, and we voted to take that out completely. But to answer that question, that was given to me, we do have a policy in place that would cover that, and it's policy 5.302, and line 15 says that a certificate from the physician on forms furnished by the board may be required in support of any claim for sick leave pay, so that would cover that. So, that was all.
What does he mean?
Their new MOU was left out completely, yes. We voted to take it out completely.
Okay, so MOU is in front of us. There was 3 changes. One of them was increasing the daily rate from $100 to $150.
For sick day line.
But that's in there. That is,
Sorry.
that's not a change.
I'm just telling them what changed it.
Oh, okay, the change from the old MOU, I'm
Yes.
sorry, Mr. Chairman.
And the second one was we'll call it group meetings. And we're gonna be able to cover, we took out the conference.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we beat that.
Once again, questions from the
Looking at our policy versus the MOU, it looks like a contradiction itself. Policy on superseding MOU, the verbiage on number 1, their usage, the verbiage in particular policy, they contradict each other. They don't sound the same. Is that a problem?
In what form?
Well, the sick leave policy specifies when you can take sick leave as far as yours. It specifies here, dealing with death, member of the family, including wife, husband, parents, and so forth. And then number 1 on the MOU that says personal illness, leaders and members. I don't know if that becomes the issue, I'm just asking that question.
It goes this way, statutory authority, policy, MOU. So statutory authority trumps policy, policy trumps
That's what I
MOU.
thought, so it just needs to be
worded.
Same thing.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because one of the concerns you get into is you want your policy to dovetail with your MOU and your statutory authority. Because if I'm a teacher and I look at my MOU and I get in my head, this is what we're going to do, then you look at the board policies which were changing, and then you look at the state law. And when I was given this, I actually looked back and after we looked at it, look at your military leave section for just a second, because Tennessee amended that statute in, I think, 2016, and I may be a year off. You get, right here you're listing that they get 30 days leave. Actually, the statute reads that that is one of the categories where you can get up to a year of a leave of absence. And it will also give you a year's leave of absence if you have an active duty relative, like a child or a spouse that's in the military, that gets extended leave time. And it lists in your statute like 6 things of where you can take that 1 year and then come back to your school, the designation. There's nothing that the board can do to stop that. One of them is if you go on your military, if you have a family member that is off. There is now language in there that if you take a sabbatical or continue your education, and there are all these programs that they're offering to offset your student loans if you'll go to like Ecuador or Africa and teach for a year. Well, all of those are now state law. You have to be able to do it. Well, in your policy, you just leave a period of military leave that exceeds 30 school days. Well, technically, they can go the year and you can't stop them. So I referenced that in that there are points in your MOU that aren't necessarily consistent with your board policy. Is that okay? Yes. Is it preferable? I think it's better if your policy and your MOU line up word for word. But again, it's a collaborative conference. If the unions are okay with it, you all are okay with it, it's fine. But your policy will trump the MOU and state law will trump the policy.
And that's the other thing, it's mentioned that, it's practicing MOU, that's not mentioned at all in the policies. It's just confusion. No policy trumps.
Well, that's even federal law now, the pregnancy. Yes. And even your maternity leave's now paternity leave. You get the male even gets the
Your group
Yeah.
does, it's some kind of group policy, I'm sure years.
I don't really know that confusion, so I think nobody confused about this.
And I do think that we all would concur that our policies and our MOU should go hand in hand.
Okay, any other discussion before we ask for a motion? Yes.
I hope to conclude that discussion there. This is a standing committee, and I know Ms. Fay has taken some extensive notes on what needs to be done as far as policy alignment going forward. And as a committee, we're always willing to meet, and we can amend individual items in this MOU if it be the board's preference that we line those things up as we go forward. So we can meet and adjust individual items if it becomes necessary.
That can take place anytime.
Absolutely, anytime.
Well, with those changes we discussed, and we'll take up the early day out at some point in the future. If the board wants to do it. Can I get a motion to approve the MOU?
Mr. Chairman, may I have the privilege of making the motion to accept the MOU with the corrections that we
Sure, Keith. Do I have a
And
second?
I would love to say that.
Yeah. All right, any discussions? Everybody back there okay with it?
Yes.
If you would cast your vote, please. Thanks, Bill. You would.
And I would like to just add one thing that I really do appreciate our teachers. We've got a lot of dedicated teachers, and I also want to thank those that are getting ready to retire at the end of this year, that they will have a successful and wonderful retirement.
All right, you want to change your vote? Show us.
Yes, Dave, yes. Goins, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion carries.
All right, we had a C, the handout that Richard brought to us, dealing with the dates for the continuous meeting here in June. First one, recess, is that right?
We're going to recess tonight. We can meet on the 20th. Check your budget that night. And go review any questions you have. You can read it in a second. All we do is take a vote. Don't have to do it. Include the end, refill 26. Here is include the end, refill 27. Drive into the last shot of the
Sarah, you're not the one overseas again. Okay, what is the, pleasure? What set the dates, right, good with the dates? Have a motion to approve. Item C,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion.
have a motion to approve, have a second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Chairman, note for the record that they're all 5:30 starting.
All right, a little discussion, cast your vote, please. People wish to change their vote, or to vote?
Yes. Payne, yes. Burge, yes. Creekmore, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Last item we added was soccer field. Jim would ask for additional $7,500. Get a motion to approve $7,500.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, Mr. Cohen, have a second. Second, any discussion? Would cast your vote? If you get one. Anyone wish to change their vote, show the vote, please.
Burke, yes. Payne, yes. Burge, yes. Creekmore, yes. Fields, yes. Goins, yes. Heatherly, yes. Lester, yes. Morgan, yes. Ryder, yes. Motion carries.
Gail, we reach out to Brian and let him know tomorrow, or
Yes.
item for discussion, do we have anything? Anyway,
Now, one thing, and it came up at the library conference meeting, and I got a call from a very nice young man who was a reporter who was at that meeting that asked me about it today. And I want to bring it to your attention, and it had to do with the Title IX question. If you recall, at the meeting, there was a question asked about Title IX and the requirements to pay your coaches. And the reporter who told me today asked me specifically about football versus volleyball, which is really your only non-male to female setup. Title IX is a federal requirement that was enacted, I think, in '74, that requires basically females to get the same athletic opportunities that males get. And then over the last 40 years, the Supreme Court and the federal courts have defined what is equal opportunities. Basketball is your most common sport in the state of Tennessee. More schools have a basketball program than anything else. A lot of schools don't have football, don't have baseball, but basketball is your big one. What Title IX would require with basketball is that you would have to pay your girls' basketball coach essentially the same that you do the boys' basketball coach. Now, you can have a variance for years of experience. In Anderson County, you have a 5-year, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, then you top out at 5. Softball is the Title IX equivalent for baseball. Well, what the courts have said is you cannot have one coach, like a track coach that coaches boys and girls soccer, or boys and girls track, and just have one position, because the case law has shown that typically the boys would get the benefit of the coaching. So you have to have, if you're going to have a track program, you have to have a girls track coach and a boys track coach. Well, you get to football. Football does not have a Title IX set off except for girls volleyball. There is no girls football in Tennessee. There is no boys volleyball. So when the TSSAA was, and the only reason you have girls volleyball as a sport is a group of women petitioned the courts in 1977 and said, if you have football, you have to offer volleyball. That's how volleyball became the TSSAA sport. Well, your football position is typically your highest paid position in a system. I don't know of any system, maybe in Fulton High School, but I don't know of any system where football is not the #1 paid athletic position. As a result, volleyball has to be paid concurrent to what football is, but you can get an 80%, you get a 20% set-off, because your volleyball season ends technically on November 1st. Football goes an extra month. So what I told the reporter today, if you pay your football coach $10,000, in theory, you have to pay your volleyball coach $8,000. Whatever you pay your head football assistant, you would pay your volleyball assistant 80% of that. I had no clue as to what your all supplements are. I know what our supplements are in Anderson County, and I am the girls volleyball coach in Anderson County, so I kind of know what everybody gets paid, and we do the 80% setup. Well, he said your all supplement was, I think, $5,000 versus $2,000, which would not be Title IX compliant. And I told him there were a couple of options. One, obviously, you would only have to go to $4,000 at max because they have the extra month of the season. Certain systems don't start football and volleyball at the same time. Certain systems, they don't start girls volleyball until August when school starts back. In our system, we start the same day football does. Volleyball is a big sport at Anderson County High School. We are very competitive. We choose to start the same day the TSSAA allows football. I have no idea when your all's volleyball coaches start. If they start a month later and start when school starts back, which is not uncommon, then you could only have to pay them 60% of what the football coach would make, because that's another month that they're out. But he was asking the questions, and this is what I mentioned in the MOU. There is no equivocation on that issue. I mean, to be Title IX compliant, you're either going to have to pay them 80% or 60%, depending on timing. Now, you are allowed to pay football coaches an additional supplement for spring weightlifting and conditioning work, and it has to be a specific second supplement, and you've got to provide the female athletes the same opportunity to participate in the off-season conditioning and weightlifting programs. That is common in certain systems as well. But as of right now, if what the reporter said, that it is a 5 and a 2 split, there is going to need to be an adjustment for the assistant. You're talking about $1,000, so it's not going to be a budget cripple. But you do need to get that corrected to be Title IX compliant. So if you read in the paper, he was very pleasant, and he had been at the meeting and asked the follow-up questions, and so I did my best to answer him, and I told him I would bring it to your all's attention today.
Anything else, Bill?
No, sir.
Okay. Rankin High School Board. Mr. Morgan, you have anything?
Not
I would like to thank Jill Williams for taking time out of her busy life to come evaluate our board. And I might add, why we do the evaluation is we're working on a board of distinction, and that's one of the requirements, that we have 2 members from other boards to come evaluate our operational board. And I've been to their board several times to evaluate there. And we don't do it to get the plaque on the wall, we do it to become better board members, because when we become better board members, we have a better school system. So I appreciate her being there. And speaking of levels and sportsmanship, we all got a call from Tammy Grissom, our executive director, about our sportsmanship levels. So we had been lax in that area, and so we got on the ball, and everybody has been so wonderful to cooperate and give information. And before that happened, we had 2 board members on our board that had levels. And Johnny Birch and I have been here since Noah's Ark, so we both have levels. But now we have, and they will get awards at the fall district meeting. We have, Wallace is going to attend another board member meeting and a commission, so that will make us 2 level 1s. Sharon's going to is a level 2, and Mr. Ori is, did you do your evaluation, self-evaluation? Then he is a 4. So Johnny Birch has got enough points to do level 5, and it will be awarded at the convention in Nashville. So I have committed, Johnny, you really, really need to do something awesome for me, because it takes a lot of work. But I'm going to help him, so that will make us a level 5. And of course, since I've been on board since Noah's Ark, I went into the Scholar Circle at the state board last year, so that was wonderful. But I do want to say thank you, board members, for caring and for cooperating and making us a better board. We're already good, but we're going to be better.
I want to also thank Ms. Williams for coming up, doing her evaluations. I want to tell all the teachers back there, we appreciate your hard work. None of us knows what we're going to do since Sharon's leaving, so any suggestions, let us know. Good job. Verge, trying to.
We need to set a policy meeting, since we have several, we've got 4. July 6th, what does that look like on Jay, Wallace, Lisa? We've done it here, this pretty more, we've done it here the day, the last couple of times. How did it?
The 6th of July.
July 6th on Thursday, that'll be the next board meeting.
Any board member can attend.
Yes. You're welcome.
What time?
You want to do it, it doesn't matter, when you want to do it 5:30 or just do it, you want to do it during the day?
5.
5,
Whatever is fine.
5, okay?
Crystal's 5, okay with you? All right.
5 o'clock, July the 6th.
Larry will give us the date, you know. Mr. Lester, you have anything? Ms. Fields?
We lost another student this month. And state Lynn Ray's on this is at State Farm, that has offered to come in and do, it's like a grant that their company pays for it, to come in and do a suicide prevention, kind of a watch type deal for our counselors. If we are interested in doing that, of course, it's no charge to our board, but it will be it will be a mandatory for every counselor. We cannot, they're going to do it if all the counselors are not present. So it has to be, all of them have to be compliant to do that. And I think it's maybe half a day or something, I'm not sure, but it is no cost to us if we agree for them to come in and do that. I'd like to maybe consider that, just give some thought to that and agree with the show administrators.
And I contacted Oak Ridge, talked to some of the council, they're going to work on this. Mr. Cohen, do you have anything?
I'm down there next.
All right, can I get a motion to recess until June the 20th?